Welcome everyone to the very special 20th episode of my Dark Aspect series, and the second part in my analysis of mature themes in the Origami King. Last time I mostly discussed the bosses of the game and their surprising focus on body horror tropes. This time though, I'll be fully unwrapping the plot to talk about a few risks that no other Mario game has been willing to take, until now. Please note that this will be my one and only spoiler warning for the rest of the video. This is especially important because while I spoke about it and showed some of the end game in the last video, this episode is going to go over plot details that really should be experienced for yourself first. With that disclaimer out of the way, those risks I just mentioned this game taking all revolve around character death. While essentially every Mario RPG explores darker topics in its own way, permanent death, as in death without playing a reverse card, is reserved for villains or friendly characters who have long since passed. Like the poignant story of Admiral Bobry's wife, Scarlet, dying of an illness while he was out at sea. If a good character dies on screen during the adventure though, you can bet that the writers won't be committing to that sacrifice. In the original Paper Mario, the already mourned for Boo's Tubba Blubba devoured are all spit back up upon his defeat, completely unharmed. Then in Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, anyone shroobified by the invading alien antagonists recover in the end by the power of baby tears. Even Super Paper Mario, the oft-cited darkest Mario game of all time, doesn't really kill off its characters. Tympany and Blumiere cease to exist, but whether they end up in another dimension or the afterlife is up for interpretation. While this is still effective, as it's established they can't come back, other sacrificial characters in the same game, like Loveby, do not retain that weight, and the overall story suffers for it. When Loveby is learned to actually be a transformed pure heart the heroes need to progress, she surrenders her very being to fulfill that destiny. It's sad seeing her parents lament, and this subplot brings up interesting morals. Were they right to bestow her life in the first place, knowing it'd be temporary? And should they really have kept this a secret from her? All of this development is undone after the credits roll, when she illogically and miraculously appears without even an attempt at explanation. Now this doesn't discount the grief her mother and father felt when they thought she was gone forever, but the writers covering up the more emotionally complicated plotlines like this for a happy ending undermines their takeaways. With all that explained, however, we are taken to the Origami King, and I am stunned, as this game takes that extra step and crosses the well-established narrative line twice. In a franchise first, we actually have fallen heroes with zero ambiguity. This fuseless amnesiac Bob-omb is a character without a unique name of his own. He prefers to be referred to by his species name, joining up with Mario fairly early on in the adventure. Olivia's constantly creating crazy nicknames for him, and I'll be calling him Bobby throughout the rest of this video, but ultimately it should be understood that he's a mass-produced Bob-omb, like the rest of his nameless Bob-omb-rads. So after enjoying the scenery, getting lost in a field of tall grass, and helping Mario save Shogun Studios from an origami takeover, sometimes, a celebratory fireworks show reignites Bobby's lost memory. Reinvigorated, he decides to stick around with his newfound friends, but their quest is halted when the major antagonist, King Ollie, arrives and blocks the path ahead, while simultaneously attempting to murder his sister. It is then that a giant boulder falls on top of Olivia, who now has limited time to live before it crushes her completely. Then what are our heroes to do? Now it's easy to see where this is going, but the game fakes the player out, which works in a couple of ways. First of all, everything suggests Bobby is going to have to explode here. His wording, the music, but it all builds up to setting sail. Okay, they're going the comedic route then. Bobby remembers owning something that can get them out of this situation. Maybe he has a bomb, but he is a bomb? That'd be ironic and funny, right? Or perhaps he has his missing fuse stored away to use on the boulder, with all this drama played for laughs, since Nintendo wouldn't kill him off for good. The explosion can't be fatal, right? As Paper Mario fans, we're kind of conditioned to believe that Bobby will be okay. Bombette and the previously mentioned Admiral Bobbery are party members that blow themselves up all the time, assisting Mario in and out of battle with that very ability. Bob-omb NPCs even do it out of celebration, claiming it's fun and that it doesn't hurt. Some are even clearly able to grow old and have families too. But when Bobby starts discussing the ephemeral nature of his kind, expectations cease. Could Nintendo actually be going this route? It isn't until the object in question is retrieved and brought back to the roadblock that suspicions are confirmed. The mood takes a dire shift as he explains that the important item they've collected is indeed a fuse. Not his own, but that of his deceased friend. After explaining his tragic backstory and wanting to change things for the better, Bobby attaches the fuse and says his goodbyes. In a frenzied panic, Mario realizes what's happening and dashes forward as the screen fades to white. He's too late. Bobby, this character we've all come to know and have grown attached to at this point, explodes on screen with his body tearing apart for everyone to see. Why did Bobby have to die with his blast though? Why can't he come back? Keeping in mind that this is now speculation, there are two real reasons behind this. The first is that the Bob-ombs of old are retconned, and intelligent systems simply changed the rules on how their explosions work. But the second possibility, and the one I hope is the case, is the idea that the Bob-ombs unable to recover from their explosions are inorganic. The man or Koopa-made conveyor belt Bob-ombs created with the apparent unfortunate side effect of being sentient, differing from the natural, real Bob-ombs born into the world. This distinction can actually be supported by the older games as well. Standard enemy Bob-ombs never came back after their explosive attacks either. Whatever the case may be, fleeting life is surprisingly a theme with all the generic Bob-ombs of this game. And even with their permission, you end up killing about 100 of them as live ammunition when controlling Bowser's airship cannon. They've all accepted and respect the prospect of living to serve their purpose. It's a sad existence, and an incredibly heavy subplot that may just be the sole positive aspect, likely birthed from the dev team's unfortunate limitations on modifying Mario characters. It gave standard Bob-ombs this grim depth I don't think any of us were anticipating. Kudos to, well, Kudo. He was the event director and writer for the Origami King. Bobby's death isn't just portrayed as a noble sacrifice the characters have to quickly move on from either. Soon after recovery, Olivia asks where he is, and Mario has to turn away, his hat covering his face. The slow realization of what had to happen in order to save her causes Olivia to flee into the previously blocked cave alone, where Mario has to try and console her. Any attempts made after sharing a moment of silence together will fail, as she blames herself for the ordeal and can't stop crying. It's only when Bobby's spirit offers Mario advice that she'll be able to pull through. He suggests Mario try and make her laugh, and when she finally does, it's understood that Bobby would want her to push forward. I think overall there was a lot of careful consideration put into her grieving period. The music is somber and resonates throughout the mines, changing when first sitting down with Olivia, and again after meeting with Bobby's apparition. Every word carries this rawness, so it's all executed respectably. Olivia and Mario suffering from the mutual loss of a friend is again not something I would have ever expected this game to explore. I should mention too that very soon after the incident, it is in these very tunnels that a collectible modeled after the box containing the fuse can be found. Too soon. What hurts even more though is going back afterwards to have pictures taken at the now fully functioning Shogun Studios, Regrettably, I didn't think to backtrack and get pictures of the gang while he's still alive, so I missed that opportunity for good. Looks like a second playthrough is going to happen sooner than expected. But that's the bulk of it. I wanted to focus mainly on Bobby's story and the tragic fate of Factory Bob-ombs. But there's still one more round of kudos to give in committing to sacrifice with Olivia herself. At the end of the game, it's revealed that King Ollie hasn't been sitting idly in the time Mario and Olivia have taken to reach him. He's been busy crafting 999 paper cranes, with plans to fold Mario into the 1000th, so that his wish to eradicate all toads will be granted. Incorporating classic Japanese folklore about origami into a game centered around origami is admittedly ingenious, but I thought Ollie's reason for wanting to eliminate all toads to be kind of lame. From trying to murder his own sister, to indirectly killing Bobby, from transforming most of Bowser's army, resulting in countless deaths for those who couldn't be saved, to integrating a creased Princess Peach as a permanent part of his origami castle. All of these evil deeds are the result of his Toad creator scribbling on him. Ollie took this as the greatest form of disrespect, and waged war on an entire race because of it. Just what did his Toad creator write though? An innocent message wishing him to be a good king. Even before learning this, however, he uncharacteristically feels complete remorse following his defeat. This cold, ruthless ruler hell-bent on Toad genocide suddenly feels bad after being beat to near death by a hammer, and did what he did only because he couldn't look into a mirror? It's a shame this calculated, capable villain in an otherwise very well-written game had his resolve reduced to an easily avoidable misunderstanding. The repercussions of his deeds, though, is another aspect that does deserve praise, as it crosses that line Color Splash came so close to. Using her brother's now lifeless paper body to fold the 1000th crane, Olivia wishes for all the origami folded by Ollie to be undone. Sadly, this means that Olivia too will cease to exist, as it was revealed earlier that she was actually given life by Ollie. And while these replicas modeled after the siblings appear if you've completed the game 100%, they're exactly that, lifeless replicas. Olivia is not implied to have survived somehow like Mario's partner Huey in the aforementioned Color Splash. I feel that maybe Olivia could have reworded her wish so she didn't have to die. I wish the ending plot points were better established, but regardless, her sacrifice is felt deeply. It isn't left open-ended. Olivia has passed on, and that's sad. How were these once standard sheets of paper given consciousness in the first place, though? That would be the fold-of-life technique first used by the origami craftsman to give Ollie sentience, which was then used by Ollie to create Olivia, a fact that supposedly defies the natural order. This taboo ability to breathe life into something that was once inanimate, and then for that once inanimate object to create more life, is a terrifying thought. It's yet another dose of existential terror this game is so fond of. Just like old Grand Sappy being logged by toads at the beginning of the game, and all of the chopped wood from the living trees of the Whispering Woods becoming reborn as whatever they're made into, and a lot of them just want to burn. That's it for all the important plot stuff, but one last thing I want to mention before I conclude this Dark Aspects is a handful of very special game over sequences that have our hero die unconventionally, as is tradition with this series. While Mario sadly can't join Ollie's side early on and become a folded soldier, he can fail at the sudden death match of a game show and get blasted out of a cannon. There's also this very shady guessing game run by a straight-faced Sniffit, where losing means eternal entrapment in a magic lamp. Luigi lost this game too, so with both brothers imprisoned inside, they'd be in here until some other hero saves them, potentially forever. A self-inflicted game over sees Mario profusely hammering the boat that's keeping everybody from falling into the ravenous rapids. which is funny to think about, but an actual scary death comes from a rabid, paper macho chain chomp, loose in the forest area. Taking the wrong path or not getting away fast enough can call for an instant game over, and it isn't generic. A horrified Mario is presumably torn apart, vicious sound effects and all. That's all I had for today. This video was a little longer than the last one, but I wanted to do both Bobby and Olivia's stories justice. Thank you all for watching. I try to be as thorough as possible when playing and researching these dark aspects, but with the very recently released games there is a bigger chance that I may have missed something. I haven't even seen everything this game has to offer yet, so if I do find any more hidden jokes or dialogue, I'll post them in the comments. And please feel free to offer your own suggestions as well. The next Dark Aspects episode I put out will be covering the Super Nintendo classic Earthbound. See you then.
Let's go! Okie dokie. Mamma mia!